This is the second part of the three-part KAAB site visit team online training. We'd like to take a look at visiting team report at this time. We have seen several topics so far, and visiting team report section is probably the most important aspect in the whole accreditation process, since the result of the visit team's work is represented only by visiting team report, and all the decisions and final judgment needs to be based upon visiting team report. That's why it needs to be carefully drafted, and it needs to hold the entire team's opinion rather than as an individual opinion. Evaluating criteria of visiting team report is made out of 4 items on perspectives on architectural education and 7 criteria for softwares and hardwares for the program, and 26 criteria for examining student work outcome in its reality, and the total comes to 37 criteria to be evaluated in the visiting team report. Now, it's about assessment process, and I would like to go over with some points that it needs to be remembered working on assessments of these criteria. Assessment of each item according to conditions and procedures should be made not based on individual's assertion or opinion, but agreement and consensus of the team members. Members should present his finding to share with other members, and the chair should create an environment in which all the members can fully discuss on the issues on hand in freely to draw a fair and justified conclusion. In case there is a disagreement among the members should present an objective and precise reasoning to support his or her assertion and or persuade the other members to reach an agreement and or a consensus. When an issue cannot be resolved and fell into a deadlock situation despite of the team chair's arbitration, the team chair may choose to put the issue on a vote, and with the result of the vote, all decisions need to be terminal. The program being reviewed should be provided sufficient opportunity to defend itself and to present additional materials or documents to justify its own claim during the whole process of the accreditation visit. The program being reviewed, on the other hand, should respond actively in a positive way, because it is impossible for the program to reconfirm or correct the result once the accreditation visit is concluded. Next, we would like to talk about determination of met or not met for each criteria. Each individual items on the VTR is assessed by either met or not met. There is no provision of rules and or standards based on which decisions can be made. Decisions are made purely by review assessments of the exhibit, document and information provided by the program, as well as team members' judgment and discretion. The visit team, therefore, should make a fair and justified decision according to the assessment procedure. Since most of the items are rather complicated and the decision process of these items has to rely on the team members' subjective judgment, however, it is strongly suggested to make a final decision based on consensus. The team must make its best judgment by taking into account the period of the item being unsatisfactory, how the program has responded to improve, and the result is achieved. The team must make best decision based on wholesome judgment over all criteria. Degree of impact a certain item will influence to the overall quality of the program and for the best interest for the students. Assessment of visiting team by school programs and appeals. The program being reviewed will also observe and assess the visit team and its performance by submitting evaluation of the visiting team forms after the visit. The team chair must lead the visit process strictly according to pre-agreed agenda. Failure to do so may lead to program to file an appeal process afterwards due to failure to follow the agreed procedure, which, with the factual errors on VTR, they are the grounds for the program to raise an appeal after the site visit. Therefore, it needs to be extra careful with that. Meeting accreditation criteria is to achieve knowledge and skill levels ready for sound professional internship, not to possess that of an unprofessional architect. This is a quote that needs to be reminded throughout the review process for each team members. We'd like to take a look at the contents of the visiting team report. The first chapter is a summary of the team findings, and the second will be progress since the previous site visit or previous evaluation process. And the third will be program response to KAAB conditions. There are a total of 37 criteria, and appendices and visiting team report signatures. That is the content of the visiting team report. First of all, the summary of team findings. There are a few points that needs to be reminded. Main purpose of team comments is to list overall review outcome and comment for the program by the team. Recommended to offer sign of appreciation for site visit preparation by the program. Also, it is recommended that starting by listing positive strength of the program, identifying the school program's expected role for the local professional community, historic value, and legacy of the school program. Team's overall comments must be intended for strengthening and further improvement of already identified positive aspects of the program, and list areas deserving improvement and immediate attention. The criteria well met, items must be selected after a careful review of the overall achievement, considering the program's goals and identified characteristics. It could be used to appraisal of already identified program's strength and positive characteristics distinguished from simple met criteria. Criteria not met, items must be selected after a careful review of the overall outcome of the review, considering areas in needs of immediate attention by the program. All listing must accompany with clear description of grounds or reasons for such decision. Before listing as not met, the team must have given program sufficient chance to respond properly with supplemental materials if necessary. Criteria of causes of concern. Items are among met criteria, but criteria prone to become not met if sufficient attention is not given. For best interest of the student and the program, they are selected to program to pay immediate attention. All listing must accompany with clear description of grounds or reasons for such decision. Before listing as causes of concern, the team must give program sufficient chance to respond properly. It needs to be reminded very carefully. Progress since the previous site visit. For instance, for initial accreditation process, the program needs to respond for concerned areas that they have been identified at the candidacy application process and the site visit application. So the program needs to respond carefully with the areas that need immediate attention. At the site visit team will review the program's response, and the program responses needs to be the grounds for the site visit outcome as well. Also at the final level, the accreditation committee oversees the program responses and visit team recommendations after conducting the site visit. Now, the first chapter of criteria of conditions, which is the KAAB perspectives on architectural education. There are 4 criteria from the school point of view, from the student's point of view, and from architect's point of view, and also from general public's point of view on architectural education, needs to be described in detail by the program, the faculty members. And those will be evaluated by the team, and each item will be reviewed by commenting met or not met. First criteria of the third chapter will be self-assessment system of professional degree program. And the second will be degree and curriculum. And the third will be student information and human resource and operating system, physical and information resources, and financial resources and research development. Those will be hardware and software for running a proper architectural professional degree program. Each item will be reviewed by either met or not met decision. First, self-assessment system of professional degree program. Example of comments are as follows. This is the actual comments that has been listed as a visiting team report. If the decision is not met or met with causes of concern, the team must make an agreed statement for making such a ground and such a decision. So this is a sample. The team has not found enough evidence of periodic analysis and assessments for educational achievement. Instead of relying solely on internal members, the program is required to possess self-assessing tools, which includes third-party voices from such as students and alumni. Also, it is evident that lack of tangible short, mid, and long-term strategic plans for the program contributes to incompleteness of the self-assessment system. These will be the grounds for making final decision of not met on this criteria. Next is degree and curriculum. Example of a comment could be following. This is the ground for not met decision. Curriculum objectives for each academic year and different levels of students are not sufficiently stated in the APR. The program's nomenclature of the professional degree program is not distinguished from non-professional degree of similar level. Even though it would be difficult to override the government policy, the program's appropriate effort for resolving this matter is urgently needed for the benefit of the program students and graduates. Let's take a look at the next criteria, physical and information resources. Following could be a ground for not met decision and example of comment. Absence of equipment maintenance may affect student performance. Pin-up, critique spaces, and sufficient exhibition area will enhance the quality of the design education. Again, this is the sample of actual site visits, team comment about physical and information resources evaluation. The next item is the student performance criteria. This particular criteria is made out of dozens of subcategories of criteria, and you are looking at, for example, number 2, various means of expression student performance criteria, and that is the previous version of our accrediting conditions. The various means of expression is written as ability to express architectural ideas appropriately by means of various media such as sketch, modeling, drawing, writing, and digital drawing. And the actual example of comment could be following, and this was the ground for final decision of not met on this criteria. The comment is following. Even though students' ability to express their ideas through digital drawings is excellent, the program needs more attention to encourage students to use physical models to explore their ideas throughout the design studio. So if there are common evaluating items that team has agreed on, that it needs to be written down clearly so that program should use it as a basis for their improvement. The next item will be number 4, World History of Architecture and Tradition. Example of comment could be following, and this is again a ground for not met final decision. The team found insufficient amount of education by the current evidence and study courses presented by the program. Under the current format of education, it is viable that the study area of world history of architecture can be misled as a superficial, fragmentary knowledge. And also, the next is the same comment under the same criteria on different example. Only one class covering broad range of architectural history does not provide students sufficient education for theory and history of world architecture. Number 9, form and space organization criteria, and following is again actual sample of comment leading to not met decision. The design education in between architectural design studio X to XX and XXX to XXXX display weak links. The work of XX does not display sufficient formal conceptual study in obtaining its resulting architectural forms. The XXXX does not display sufficient process of conceptual formal studies to drawn results. So team has agreed on this sentence to make program to improve their weak links in between design education sequences. We will take a look at another sample of student performance criteria, number 13, barrier-free design. Example of comment is follows. The architectural design studio work pertaining to this criterion does not display sufficient evidence. All individual student work in the intended studio must display sufficient study outcome. So this is the decision that team has made according to careful examination of student work outcome displayed in team room and what they have found during the site visit. The next item will be number 14, safety, fire protection, and emergency egress. The sample example of comment could be following, and this again is a ground for not met decision. Current evidence of student works at XX class alone are not sufficient. Educational outcome is inconsistent among student works. Teaching materials and methods are not readily evident. So there are several items that team were looking for and they couldn't justify the student outcome was sufficient. Okay, next item is the KAAB perspectives on architectural education, the criteria of architecture education and the architect. Example of comment could be following. This is a ground for decision of met with causes of concern. And in terms of causes of concern decision, the team has to describe a clear sentence of reasoning why. Example is as follows. The program needs more attention to provide students with balanced opportunities to be exposed to diverse perspectives for architects. So the visiting team were looking for something more to justify this item as a full met. The next item is a human resources and operating system, and again another sample of causes of concern decision. It is met decision, but it has lengthy comment that is considered a grounds for causes of concerns. The example is as follows. The workload of full-time lecturers causes concern as some design studios, such as lower level studios, do not get enough individual tutorial time with lecturers. Although the co-teaching system of lecturer and assistant may enhance the level of practical drawings, the program requires to develop a strategy to utilize the assistant's role on different academic levels. So Tim has found some items that the program needs to improve to go on with their full track. Let's take a look at another item of causes of concern, and the following comment is the ground for that decision. Students' works currently presented do not prove a proper understanding of recyclability of materials, which has an important stance in the program's mission, sustainable built environment. So this is a comment for the criteria of building materials and recycling. And the visiting team were looking for some much concrete evidence of the educational outcome. Another causes of concern item, it's again a met decision, but following comment can be ground for the causes of concern. It's number 30, operation and management of architectural practice. The sample comment is as follows. While program's approach for off-campus is pioneering, the team is concerned of the quality control for students' experience. Okay, and let's take a look at criteria well met. This is a sample of met item, and among them, some of them can be decided as criteria well met. That's beyond just simple met. So this is to appraise what program has done exceedingly well. Let's take a look at this example, which is the research and development criteria by the faculty members, and the comment is as follows. The title architecture program has a strong research tradition with XXX research groups. This will help students explore many possibilities and methodologies for their design solutions. So the clear comment is needed to justify the decision behind the criteria well met. Let's take a look at another criteria well met, and this is the item integration of building system in design. It's a student among the student performance criteria, and the sample is as follows. The program has successfully conveyed the notion of integrated system design outcome to student body in general, although this effort contributes positively to the reputation and characteristic known of the program. Okay, so there are some other points that needs to be carefully taken in consideration. Let's say, for instance, when there is a difficult to judge situation. For example, display of student work outcome of giving exact text of criterion as homework problems or questions to solve at an examination. That that situation often could be found in actual site visit. For example, describe architecture and society in the aspect of regional, social, cultural, economic, and policy aspects and their mutual relationships that influence architecture and city. And this is the exact criterion sentence that is written by KAAB conditions and procedure. The homework problem given to students are exact wording of student purpose criteria wording. Number 4, expecting students to find answer by themselves. And if this is displayed as a student work outcome, then it is too difficult. It is too complicated to just simply judge it is not the student work, or it is inappropriate to accept it as student work as is, because you need to consider following. Generally, accreditation criteria must be taken as minimum standard in education, not as a goal to achieve by its own. At first, it must be considered as a poor pedagogic practice. And the second thing to consider, find course syllabus and teaching materials to confirm that enough of factual teachings and actual teachings on particular subjects are performed. If relevant materials are not evident enough, students' work cannot be counted as learned outcome. That's very important. And also we need to consider the third. Student work outcomes seem shallow and not enough teaching materials evident. Particular criterion should be judged as not met or causes of concerns. Depends on the degree of its problematic issue. So in case of this, the whole team needs to discuss about this and make a consensus. It's best to make consensus, a decision based on consensus. Okay, let's take a look at appendices of the visiting team report, which are normally furnished by KAAB. The team doesn't have to do anything about it. And most importantly, after the team report is finished, as a first draft, it needs to be signed by all 5 team members on site at the end of the meeting. It's very important sequence that team members need to remember. Also, let's take a look at confidential recommendation. Once the visiting team report is done, the team has to gather around to make the confidential recommendation. The confidential recommendation needs to be decided among the team members, and at this time, any observers in the room needs to be excused because it is only the task for the team members. The term of accreditation is as follows, and the confidential recommendation is to recommend the accreditation term for the program by the team members as a result of all these reviews. Term of accreditation is full 6-year term or 4-year term or conditional 3-year term, and temporary suspension of accreditation or revocation of accreditation. And in terms of 4-year term decision, it needs to be considered the following grounds. Accreditation is valid for 4 years following the year of the visit when considerable deficiencies found, but the program demonstrates a strong intention to correct the deficiency, and the visit team is fully convinced that the program has the capability to correct the deficiencies. If the program is awarded for a 4-year term, consequently, the program is required to receive a full 6-year term in the following accreditation. Otherwise, the program accreditation is terminated. So it needs to be careful by the program that 3 consecutive 4-year term decision is awarded, then the accreditation cannot go on any further. So it needs to put all programs' effort to avoid getting 4-year term once 2 consecutive terms has been given as a 4-year term. And transitional provision is also in effect because there is a term of transitional period in between the previous conditions of procedures and current conditions of procedures. Since the term of accreditation criteria has changed. Before, the full term was 5 years, but at the moment, from now on, from year 2018, full term for accreditation is extended to 6 years. The term of accreditation for initial accreditation is as follows. The wordings are similar, but the term is a year shorter. So the full accreditation term is 5-year, and the next level down is a 3-year. It should apply for all initial accreditation of the program. And also there is transitional provision as well. which needs to be looked over at the written version of conditions and procedure. The confidential recommendation is just simple choice of a team making which term decision that they have concluded. And grounds for accreditation term recommendation, the team has to agree on a sentence of a ground for such term decision. This is a example of comment of the term decision, and is as follows. The 5 members of the visit team unanimously recommends a full accreditation of 5-year term. Refer to the visit team report for details. So it's a very simple sentence, but it serves as a ground for the term decision that they have given. Another sample is the visiting team was unanimously in the recommendation for 4-year term of the accreditation as per findings described in visiting team report and according to the KAAB conditions and procedures. So this could be a simple comment as well. And the signature page looks as follows. And evaluation of the site visit is important, and that is done by the program itself after the site visit is over. The evaluation report is looking like this. The KAAB would like to survey the following in effort to improve KAAB site visit. The result of this survey will be remained strictly confidential. Please forward back to KAAB as earliest convenience, and needs to be filled out by the program representative. And any free comments can be written down so that KAAB will take consideration to improve their procedures or other sequences. Okay, so this will conclude the second part of the KAAB site visit team online training, and it was about visiting team report. Thank you.